Lisa Tomey, your host today for the Prolific Pulse Poetry Podcast and YouTube. Today we have a guest by the name of Hannah Foust. She's from Utah, but she's from the South, so she's coming home virtually to see us. She's experienced in social work and teaching. Well, we have that in common because I am an old social worker. She finds joy and beauty in illuminating the stories of others. She believes that there is a great healing in writing, and that poetry is one of the many avenues to express emotion through creativity. And one way that Hannah promotes the voices of others is through ghostwriting for authors looking to tell their own personal stories. She is a co-founder and the team publicist for the Inner World Movement, and its up-and-coming emotional education platform that provides tools, coaching, community, and support. Let's meet Hannah. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So you are from the South. How did you end up in Utah?
So I did a program called Teach for America, and so I taught kindergarten in Texas for a couple years. And then I went to a retreat with a friend of mine here in Utah, and the mountains here reminded me of home. And so I don't get the beach like I did, but at least I get to see the mountains every day around me, and I just decided to move because I have a lot of friends here. So
wonderful. I have a niece that lives out there at the military base, so yeah, she likes it out there. She likes the cold weather.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, not me.
No humidity.
No, I have not been to Utah. My daughter has, and when I was growing up, my dad was stationed in Texas in the military, so I've been there. We've been all over the place. But anyway, this is about you. So you are a ghostwriter.
I am. This is my first book that I'm working on right now. I'm working with a shaman. And so we're writing a book about shamanism and her ability to train people in shamanism. And so that's that book. So that's what I'm working on right now. And I'm working on my own book as well, but that's a little bit slower moving.
Oh, now you have my interest. What are you writing about for yourself?
I want to write about myself. I want to write about my life and the way that, I never thought that my life could be what it is now. And sometimes when you're in a lot of darkness, it's hard for you to see past it. You get tunnel vision, and that's all that you can see. And in those moments, I really felt like I was alone. I didn't know that there were people like me. And so I'm really interested in story. That's my passion. I love it. I think that when someone tells a story, there's so much common humanity in what they're saying, whether or not they have the same story. And they're able to really break through all of the traditions and cultures and all the things that hold us back from connecting with one another. And you can really start to see who a human being is, and it helps people not to feel alone. And so that's what I want to write about for myself.
Wow, that sounds interesting. Do you have a working title for your book?
I don't, not yet.
It has to come to you yet.
Yeah, it's not come yet. It's not formulated. I'm only a couple chapters in, and really, we're in the working out of. There's a lot that goes into writing a story when it's your story, because there's also other characters, and you want to honor them and their stories. And so I'm working through all of that.
Right. I understand that. I actually have written my life story, but I've never published it. It's kind of just for my own. I don't know if I'll ever do anything with it or not, but yeah, so I know it. There's so many people in the story. I don't want to step on any toes or hurt any feelings. And so, and I probably had a more fortunate life than some people did. So,
yeah, and same here. I feel the same way. I know that there are people who have a whole lot. They have a lot more challenges than I do and did growing up, and I love and honor everyone in my story. And so it's like, how do you write about something truthfully, write about it in a way that honors you and honors them, because this is my truth and I want to share it. So
yeah. Do you ever find yourself writing like fictional stories that bring in life characters? Like
I
people from your life?
I've tried my hand at it. It's hard because it's almost obvious who I would like, what I would be writing about and who I would be writing about, and trying to spin it that way. And
Yeah.
so, and then there's something about it for me. When I first started writing, I was in counseling. I was 14 years old. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
even speak about the things that were going on in my life. And so
Mm-hmm.
she was trying to get me to speak, and I had no way of verbalizing. And so what
Right.
she ended up doing is asking me to write about it. And that's truly where I found
Mm-hmm.
out that I have a gift, and I couldn't speak about it still. And so she would then read it. And so then
Mm-hmm.
then we could kind of talk about it. And then she had me read it out loud, and it gave me a voice and saved my life. And so I really think,
Perfect.
um, I just really think that writing is such a great tool, and it
Mm-hmm.
connects people, whether they're the reader or the writer. And I believe that
Yeah.
everyone can write
Mm-hmm.
if they spend their time to do it. So
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. In one way or another, they can do it. In fact, I just figured out that I didn't. This is some new enhancement, I guess, to my Word program I didn't know existed, and I'm excited because I can actually now talk to my computer and it types for me.
yeah,
And
that's so cool, huh?
it's like, what? I didn't have to buy this. I mean, it just came with the program. It's just an upgrade. I'm like, oh man, this is dangerous.
Yeah, you'll just never stop writing at that point.
I know. Yeah. Well, I'm getting old. I got arthritis, so if I have a way of talking into the computer when I'm having a rough day, then I don't have an excuse then, do I?
Yeah. And I'm just, as a publicist, this is something that I do sometimes, because we go on podcasts and I get guests for the Inner World Movement. Is there's an app that I use. I forget what it's called, but you can put your audio through the app and it transcribes it for you, and then you can take that and turn it into a blog or like
Mm-hmm.
different posts. And so that's
Yeah.
another way just that I've used in my writing, is like being able to turn audio into a blog post, or you can use it for a whole lot of things. So
Yes, I have heard about that, and how like what I do with the podcasting can be, transcribed for you if you want to do a transcription to go along with it. So I may end up doing that at some point. Because
yeah,
I have some people that are deaf or hard of hearing and would probably, what they call hearing impaired, I guess I should probably say, that would probably like that if they could read what's being said.
yeah,
Perfect. Now, you work with this movement. It's called Inner World Movement. I'm going to share my screen in a second here. Here we go. So tell us about this. It sounds like something you're
yeah,
really excited about.
yeah. The Inner World Movement is there's four of us on our team. Is four people who come from diverse backgrounds, and we all have the common belief that the world doesn't have, there's not a lot of tools out there. People don't even know that their inner world is so attached to the results that they're getting, and so they don't know how, they don't have the tools to heal and find healing for the things. So like we on our platform, we want to cultivate the awareness of like your inner world is attached to your outer world. And so we have a few people she's showing right now. It's Natalia Yates, me, Dana Parker, and Brent Satterfield. Dana is the coach of the Inner World Movement, so she really provides a whole lot of tangible things that people can be doing to enhance their lives and
Mm-hmm.
find emotional healing. We've all been through a variety of different things, as far as spiritual transitions, going against what society may think is the right thing for your life.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different things that we in life right now, when we want to make a change, so we're also like, there's two roads. You want to do one thing, but then the other road isn't what you want to live, but it's what society kind of wants you to live. If you take
Mm-hmm.
that harder road and you make the choice to live the life that you are going to love, then you're really going to come up against some friction. And so in our movement, we just want to be able to give the people the tools and the community and the ability to make those decisions and have community and have support and have people who believe in them and can say, we have made decisions that were hard for our lives and we came out on the other side, and you know what, you can do it too, and here's the tools, and here's how you can heal. So that's what the Inner World Movement is. My part in it is the publicist. We're gonna have a creative corner on there soon. I'm planning on putting the poems that, if I read poems today, I'm planning on putting those on the site along with this interview, and it's just going to be a platform for people, whoever wants to share whatever it is that they're writing. Give other people a voice, give them the ability to share, because we often are so in the doing and we're not in the being of life. And so
yes,
that's what all of that is.
And I saw a book on there, Bringing Heaven Home.
So we're promoting Dr. Satterfield's book. He came from a conservative Christian background. And then he started having these experiences with heaven, and these experiences kind of were counter to the beliefs that he had held so strongly to, and the idea that there is only one way to heaven, that there's only one way to live. And he really focuses on, how do you bring heaven to earth? How do we, as a collective society, how are we interacting with one another in a way that we are connecting, and we're like, there isn't just one path is what he writes about. And so he writes about all these experiences with heaven and what they taught him along the way. And so it's a really impactful and powerful story. And I didn't write that one.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. It kind of makes me think of Leo Basagia's, I don't think I'm pronouncing his name right, Leo Basagia's book on love. He wrote several different things, and he's no longer with us, but he basically tried to live his life and taught the example, much like what Jesus would if he were here today. How would he live his life in our world now? And I was just fascinated with him. Well, it still has influenced me, and yeah, it makes me think of that.
Yeah, because it ties into everything, because it's I know personally for me, and my experience with Jesus is very there's a way that society teaches who he is, and then there's who to me he is, and to other people experience him in different ways. And I just think it's incredibly powerful when you are able to peel back all of the layers of society and all the things that people say that you should believe about someone, and turn off all those voices and listen for yourself and live it yourself. And so that's something we're excited about.
Okay. Now tell me about your poetry. How long have you been writing?
I have been writing poetry. I started writing when I was 14, but I didn't really have time. I wasn't really a slow down and write poetry kind of person until when I was about 22. I was going through a lot, and I was trying to I didn't want to write out all the story. I wanted the emotion there, and I wanted to be able to cut through everything and get to the root of, this is what I'm feeling. And so I was about 22 and I started writing, and these phrases would start coming to me, and it would just be a phrase. And so I'd write it down and I'd be like, whatever, that's weird, but it's cool. It sounds really cool. So like, whatever. And then a little bit later, it would just keep building. And so the feeling, there's like a feeling of like, I need to get this out. There's something inside of me that needs to come out. And so that's the kind of poet I am. I usually, if I don't have the patience to sit down and try to make something happen, it doesn't really happen the way I'd like it to if I do that. And so it's a very feminine process. It's a very flow, like just trying to allow it to come kind of way. So
how about you share some of your poetry with us?
Sure. So the first poem that I would like to read is called D, and I wrote it for a friend of mine. I was watching her go through a hard circumstance, and when you're watching someone do something brave, sometimes you can see the whole picture, and so I just wanted to capture that for her and give it to her as a gift. And so it's called D.
Okay.
Painted on garments of a former member, blood-smeared D on her chest. Their lips curl in anger at her freedom. It's not just him she's divorcing. The stench of unworthy lingers, and all in the crowd are pretenders. Downward glances tighten chains, simultaneously protecting glass houses. Dreaming of a table where all can be seated, she begins to dance on display. Garments torn in a pile, and yet she is covered in grace. Dancing undignified, misunderstood. They foam at the mouth to condemn. Arms outstretched, protecting innocent eyes, but small feet climb the steps of the stage.
Wow, that's powerful. I can visualize that.
Yeah, it's really a story of someone who's going through transition and in a family that doesn't really allow that kind of difference of opinion, and there's an understanding in a lot of cases that children are going to be affected in a certain way, or like people just they write narratives without knowing what's going to happen. And in my view, and in the view of others, it could be, I mean, I could be wrong, I could be right, who knows? We can't write someone's story for them.
Yeah.
But when you see someone make such a brave choice, a lot of times you don't see until later the effects of it. And so while someone makes a decision, someone else can see that and say, wow, that was brave. And so then they'll climb the stage and they'll be empowered by it. And so that's really where that came from.
Exactly. And we're all a part of a larger community. It's kind of that it takes a village kind of thinking of connecting with other people that are going through some of those same things, which sounds like a lot of what you all work with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's the hope. We're trying to gather as many people who are like-minded as want to come and be welcomed and listened to. So
well, that's great. And when I look at the faces of the people that are on your staff, that in the pictures, everybody looks so happy and welcoming. I mean, I feel comfortable walking in the door and saying, "Who can I talk to?" They're all going to be good here.
Yeah, I'm the most introverted. I'm usually on the other side of the camera, so I'm the most introverted of the group and most quiet. I'm usually used to being on the other side of the camera, like I said, and so they're very extroverted, very welcoming, and you've got to be if you're a coach, and then if you're an author promoting a book, you kind of have to step outside of your nerves and step out
The comfort zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you planning on a poetry book at some point?
Since my writing style is so waiting on things to come and being hit by things and differently, I noticed that the more I write, the more comes. And I'm writing a ton right now just for work and for pleasure. And so I'm expecting to keep collecting, and I probably, it'll be later in my life if that's what happens, but I'd be open to it.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of people, and some I've interviewed on here, quite a few actually, that I've interviewed that they collected poems for 40 years before they wrote the actual book. So it happens that way. You get busy with life and life's terms and different, making a living, and raising kids or whatever they're doing. And, it just piles up, and then like all of a sudden they have time and they say, well, I guess this is the time to write that book.
That's so exciting. Yeah, I've watched a few of them and I was like, wow, 10 years old. You've been collecting for a long time. That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've written since I was a kid, but I didn't start collecting until about 6th grade.
Wow.
Yeah. And then some over the years, they've long gone somewhere else. But anyway, how about another poem?
Sure. This one is called Light. This is one of my favorites. I performed it at a spoken word, like at an open mic one time. And it was written for spoken word, but my personality is not much of a huge performer. And so, but this one's called Light. I watched from the living room window, that chubby angel conversing with the wind. His rosy cheeks would jog on in, and he'd cry that tragedy had struck his imaginary friend. We need to help, he'd say. Our friendship was magical. Fort cities took us from China to the zoo. He was the bright side. The day I pulled the light from a firefly and made it rain, he informed me that I couldn't make it shine again. I didn't know what I had done. We lived in the dark, two little lights. There was another like us who used to love us, but he pulled the light from me, and it wouldn't shine again. I believed that I was darkness. Blanket forts turned to a hospital room, and the once chubby angel came to visit. I coped through pills and therapy, but it was artificial light. And then I walked down a road, filled with strangers familiar. Shining like fireflies, they saw my light, and held up a mirror for me. My light was never extinguished, but beliefs about it were. I didn't know what I had done, but I never stopped shining.
Well, that's like a poem of hope to me.
Thank you.
Going from one phase over to the other, so it ended up being a real happy ending.
Yeah.
Be able to be amongst people.
Thanks. I really appreciate that. That's a huge compliment. I think what I was aiming for is that whole that swing from I will drive sometimes while I've been living here, and I'll look at the mountains and I'll be like, I cannot believe my life. I can't believe that this is possible. Like, I couldn't have seen it had it hit me in the face that the life that I'm living right now is my reality. And so to go from those hard things and to carry those as if I am darkness, and then to live in the light and to recognize my light and to believe that I didn't change when those things happened. Those things weren't extinguished in me. And so I think that's just really powerful for me is when I have those recognizings, and hopefully when people hear them sometime, if they're in darkness, they'll know that they can get help and that there's hope.
Mm-hmm. So. Absolutely. So important for us to see hope. I'm working on a book on hope right now, collaborating with another poet, and just wrote one of the poems for it today. It's trying to figure out ways of spreading hope in the world. So,
that's awesome.
Your poem
it's needed.
And you have another one called Desert People?
Desert People, yeah. This one was written at a retreat when I first moved to Utah. When I first came to Utah, I went to a retreat for women, and we were all facing a similar circumstance. And we had this group where every person told their story. There was 8 of us. And it was like, I've been so thirsty for this. I've been so thirsty to have someone tell their story and see my reflection in it and be like, whoa, I'm not alone. And to have that experience of all these people was impacting for me. And this came while I was there, and then I shared it, and it was really beautiful. It's just something that came. And so, yeah, this one's called Desert People.
Okay.
I'm familiar with desert people. When I tell them how thirsty I am, I get blank stares. Their empty eyes fixate on my words, and I crumble right before them. Desert people tell me that there's water up ahead. When I reach for it, it's gone. This time, the joke's not on me. I stand in the desert and the thirst is still there, but I am not alone. There are more here just like me. Their eyes are not hollow or empty. They are special. Their eyes shine. Their eyes are just like mine.
Nice. I like that. It's like a community again.
Yeah, I think that's a theme for me, is the impact of story, the impact of people coming together and just being heard and hearing each other, and the common humanity of this isn't abnormal. Like, as much as you believe that you are living and you're weird and these things are shameful and you shouldn't be talking about them or any of those things that we believe about ourselves and our story, once you shine light on it, that belief almost becomes like irrelevant, because if you love someone in their story and their story is the same as yours, you find this like self-compassion and the ability to love yourself in it too. And it's just, it's incredibly powerful.
Absolutely. It's like you radiate the positivity off of each other and the experiences off of each other.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Did you want to share another poem?
I can. I will share, how about Out of Body?
Okay.
This one's called Out of Body. If you can pinch an inch, your body is a glutton for space. Words ringing in my ear with no way to escape. 10 years old with a body out of bounds. To eat is both to love and to hate. Food is a comfort and a battlefield. My viceroy soul is trapped between monarch wings. Protection from predators.
Yeah. That is so relatable, for me. Constant battle through my life. And I like that you did the viceroy and the monarch, because they look the same, but that one is totally different than the other, which I found out. I was doing some extensive research on that, because he was trying to write something about the viceroy compared to the monarch, and there you did it in that poem.
I actually, when that came to me, I was like, that's so true. Many of us feel, especially people, and I consider myself a survivor, and the victim word to me feels like, I just don't like it. But anybody who has gone through hardship at the hands of another person, at least in their body, a lot of times they leave their body. And so their body can actually feel like a war zone in some ways. And so I wanted to put in a poem, I wanted to write something that shows that, from a young age, like food and being overweight, and I am overweight, but food and being overweight are a lot of times attached to beauty and attached to things that don't fully tell the whole story. Right. And so for those of us, I'm just now learning to be back in my body and to enjoy enjoy this human experience. And it's a interesting experience, having left your body and then coming back and being like, this isn't the body that I left. And so, and I know that that's so relatable for so many people.
Yeah.
And so I just want, I guess that's my purpose here, is just, I want people who have experienced all of these different things to know that they're not alone, and that they can heal, and that there's tools for them to heal. And so that's what the Inner World Movement's all about.
Wow, that's so interesting, so amazing. We shared about that, and it's true. And with the whole body and identity and what it's attached to, and really does not need to be attached to in this world.
Yeah.
It's too bad. We just need to be who we are, and that's that.
And there's a lot of initiatives out there that are doing their best to shine the light, and it's almost like the missing aspect is simply the emotional intelligence of it, of saying there's reason for this, there's story behind these people. It's a lumping of an entire population of people into habit instead of into something that's probably more true to their story. And so
exactly. Yeah, like I know I was with somebody one day that we're talking about someone's size, and I said, you don't know anything about that person. You don't know, what's going on in their life. You don't know if they got a health condition, or if they've been abused, or if, there's some people that no matter what they do, they can't lose a pound. There's so many reasons that people like myself are the size that they are, and, we gotta step back and have that empathy for people, because you don't know their story. And furthermore, we all have our own story that, so that I found that most people just need more awareness.
Yeah, it's true, and that's part of that whole outer world. We're expecting people to change their outer world without having any concept of the inner world, and
exactly.
And so it's like a collective not knowing of what's going on with people, and not really truly connecting with people because the narrative would change, and so that's kind of the importance of what we're doing. And I feel like I'm pounding that, but
no, you're not. It's very intriguing to me. It sounds like I might want to read that book. So yeah. It sounds very interesting to me. Absolutely. I think things that can empower people to be their best person, I'm all there. I'm all in.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to share?
No, but I would just thank you for being here. Thank you for doing what you're doing. I think what you're doing is important. And I would love to, I was looking on your channel. I might have missed it, but I would love to see you sharing some of your things as well.
I do on my podcast, but I haven't done it on YouTube. But you bring up a good point. Maybe I'll do a video. I was recently interviewed, actually. I was recently interviewed by another podcaster for their podcast. So I'll have to share that with you.
Great, thanks. I appreciate it.
But well, thank you so much, Hannah, for coming on. I've really have thoroughly enjoyed this, and just keep writing that poetry, okay? Maybe I'll give you a holler when I'm getting ready to do my next anthology. Maybe you could contribute to it.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, we've got one now getting ready to putting it together for press, and it's 47 people, including me, that contributed to it. So it's called Heartbeats, 2 words.
That's awesome.
And it's about what makes your heart beat. So
yeah,
I think you'd fit right in. Well, thank you so much, and you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.